Today's official opening of the Consulate General, here in Cardiff, reflects the Irish Government's commitment to supporting and deepening the strong connections between Ireland and Wales as part of our close links across the UK. Working from our new office in Cardiff Bay, the Consulate team is building links all across Wales to the people and organisations who make up our dynamic and varied connections across the Irish Sea. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the celebration.
Aghini Ushla, Achorja, Lord Lieutenant, First Minister, Minister, Lord Mayor, Lady Mayoress, Ambassador O'Neill. Is more on an orduum, found shot living you, August Falcha, Kate Mila Falcha, Hort Dove Galair, is shock at the Iwerdon, Igubri. You are all, ladies and gentlemen, so extraordinarily welcome here to the Irish Consulate in Cardiff today. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us. My name is Denise Hanrahan. As most of you will know, I'm the Consul General here in Cardiff. I moved over in April 2019 from Dublin to take up the role. But it wasn't the first time that I came to Wales. As a child, we spent many happy family holidays in North Wales. Not very sunny, but as Irish people, we're happy with that. Visited Llandudno, Reel, Conwy Bay, great memories. As a young teenager, with a very strange Irish dancing group, we used to perform short plays through traditional Irish dancing. It was odd, but we came to Wales. We were made extremely welcome in Pontypool, in homestays as young teenagers. As we've been talking earlier today about the importance of youth exchange, we were made very welcome in Pontypool and stayed and participated in Eisteddfod. I don't tell you these things because they're so very fascinating. I tell you them because I think they represent the depth and breadth of the people-to-people connections that exist between Ireland and Wales. That story is, apart from perhaps the Irish dancing play, completely normal and is what most Irish people know of Wales as a place to come, be made feel welcome, to enjoy the hospitality, to experience the culture and to recognise ourselves. And that was a little bit of Welsh. I hope it was understandable. We did indeed receive the warmest of welcomes in moving over to establish the consulate. The role of the consulate is, in a more formal way, to communicate the government-to-government, country-to-country relationship that is underpinned by the people-to-people connections that bind us. And many of you here today who are Irish people or who have strong Irish connections. So you will hear more very shortly, I'm delighted to say, from our Minister for Foreign Affairs, Simon Coveney, and from First Minister Drakeford about what we've been doing to strengthen and deepen that Ireland-Wales relationship, including this morning with some very interesting discussions about how we can cooperate, collaborate and bring lots of ideas and projects to fruition. But before that, and if it's an enormous honour to be standing here welcoming you to the Consulate General of Ireland, it's an even more enormous honour to welcome you to hear two of the fantastic musicians we have today. Catrin Finch, renowned in Wales, a harpist extraordinaire, classically and traditionally trained and playing. Aoife Bhriain, Irish woman living in London, again classically trained, traditional player extraordinaire. Both have played around the world to appreciative audiences, and through the magic of Other Voices Cardigan, which is one more Ireland-Wales cultural project which unites Dingle and Cardigan. The two were brought together earlier this year to play. They've enjoyed that experience and are playing more and more together. And without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Catrin and Aoife, who are going to perform three pieces for us. Enjoy, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you. Friends, that is indeed an extraordinarily difficult act to follow. I think we can just take a moment to wish and hope that the energy, the joy, the creativity and the skill that was shown imbues all the work that the Consulate team and everyone else will take forward. One housekeeping point, forgive me, I should have said, if you wouldn't mind wearing your face coverings while you're seated and not eating, drinking, performing or speaking, that would be very much appreciated. So without any more, I would like to ask our distinguished Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr Simon Coveney TD, to address us with some remarks about Ireland and Wales and the opening of the Consulate. Thank you, Minister.
Unless my name is Bono or Michael Flatley, I think I'm not quite capable of following the last musical sensation. But Lord Lieutenant, First Minister, Lord Mayor, Lady Mayoress, Ambassador, Consul General, Aoife agus Accordia, is honor mór domsa a bheith an seo a nniuliv an ácád speisialta agus starúil seo. This is a historic and special event. We are officially opening I like to call it our embassy in Wales, but it is, I suppose, officially our consulate here in these modern offices. Ironically, they used to be EU representation offices here in Cardiff. And it's a real pleasure to be here with our team, with Denise, who's done an amazing job so far, already made so many contacts here and made such an impression here, working, of course, with Niall and with Luke. And I think Karina is here as well from our Manchester mini embassy as well for the north of England that we opened only a few weeks ago. So it's a real pleasure to be here to open the consulate today. Can I thank our two musicians again? In many ways, anybody who questioned the connectivity and the partnership between Ireland and Wales need just look and listen to Catrin and Aoife. Those of you who aren't familiar with the Other Voices project, you're familiar with it now. It brings musicians together from different backgrounds with very different talents, but fuses them together to create what you've just heard, which is a really super example of linking Dingle with, I think, Cardigan here in Wales, and reminding us all of just how linked we are. This is an important and serious moment, too, for the relationship between two close neighbours. In fact, Wales is our closest neighbour, and we are yours. I'm delighted to be able to celebrate this special occasion amongst friends, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Sorry you have to wear masks, but the next time I'm back, hopefully that won't be necessary. Ireland's presence here has already paid dividends. As the First Minister and I launched the Ireland-Wales shared statement in March this year on St. David's Day. It gave us a shared framework for increased bilateral engagement for the years ahead. It was a serious initiative, and there's been serious follow-through since. We recognised a common interest in creating new structures for bilateral engagement. The new Ireland-Wales Forum is an important platform for deepening that cooperation. We said we'd do it 8 months ago, and we've done it today, and I think it's probably exceeded expectations. I was delighted to co-chair the inaugural forum today with the First Minister and to be joined by my colleagues, Minister Troy and Minister Eamon Ryan. I'd like to thank the First Minister in particular for the depth and the richness of our discussions and for his warmth of welcome and hospitality, and of course the other ministers that joined him. There were 7 ministers in the discussion today. We had a detailed discussion on how we might best work together towards our shared priority of a green recovery and our ambitions for a sustainable future on either side of the Irish Sea, that we don't see as something that keeps us apart, but in fact connects us. We discussed how we engage with our diaspora communities, how to promote and strengthen our trade connections, and the opportunities and potential for renewable energy, particularly offshore in the Celtic Sea that we share. It was a reminder that Ireland and Wales are natural partners in so many areas. As the closest of neighbours, we share a common Celtic heritage through language and through geography. Our history and legends intertwine too, with saints, traders, and great mythical figures of the Mabegane crossing and recrossing the Irish Sea. St. Patrick himself is reputed to be a Welshman. I'm not sure who dares dispute that, but I'm told some people do. And indeed, a later Patrick, Pádraig Pearse, leader of the 1916 Rising, was in 1899 inducted into the Gorshed of Welsh bards. And of course, this month, as we commemorate the centenary of the negotiation of the Anglo-Irish Treaty in 1921, we remember David Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, a Welshman, who was pivotal in that process. Our people have always moved freely, with family and friends for work, festivals, sport and study, including several of you here today, who I know have been shaped by your time on the other side of the Irish Sea, as indeed I have here. And yet, despite all of this, sometimes we have almost looked past one another. And with the opening of this consulate, as with the publication of our shared statement, we are now reaffirming our mutual commitment to deepen and strengthen what is already a naturally warm and close relationship. Looking through the trade lens, Ireland is the fourth largest market for exports for Wales, and Irish companies are a growing part of the Welsh economy, responsible for about 90 companies here employing 4,000 people. Recent tech arrivals, including Agron Microtech to North Wales, as well as Mana Aero. More established companies, including life sciences, Sharp Medical, and food and drink producers such as Dawn Dunbia. Big players in Ireland, but with a big footprint here too now. Resources, as well as people, have also flown back and forth. From my own county of Cork, all of the copper mined in Allihies in southwest Cork fell into the smelters of Swansea. The cities of Swansea and Cork remain twinned today. Next month, the International Uillinn Piping Day will be celebrated in Swansea. Other twin towns include St David's in Pembrokeshire and Naas in Kildare. The communities in the towns of Rosslare and Pembroke are as tightly connected as are those of Anglesey and the Clyne Peninsula with Dublin and Wicklow. In Aberystwyth University, the Celtic Studies Department teaches and promotes Gaeilge, along with all other Celtic languages. As a government, we are proud to support Irish language teaching there and indeed also in Cardiff University as well. Language policy is one area which we have identified where we can learn so much from Wales's achievements. And I know this is also a focus of the upcoming British-Irish Council Summit being hosted here in Cardiff in a few weeks' time, which has a specific focus on language. Engaging with our diaspora is another important area of exchange that we've discussed today. And I'm delighted to announce today that my department will welcome a Welsh official to our Irish Abroad unit next year on secondment to ensure that we're sharing all of our mistakes as well as our successes, and we've had both, in terms of knitting together and connecting what we regard as an international tribe of Irish people right across the world. Many, many multiples of them live outside of the island of Ireland as opposed to in it. Re-establishing our diplomatic presence in Wales is fundamental to our ambitious Global Ireland programme, which we see as a doubling of Ireland's impact around the world by 2025. My department, the Department of Foreign Affairs, is in expansion mode, and we have been now for a number of years, opening many new embassies and consulates in strategic locations around the world, and we believe that this is one of the most important of them. As a small, open, globalised country, Ireland needs to take our message to the world, as indeed does Wales. And our message is one of partnership, of empathy, and of independence. These are values shaping how we are delivering as a member of the UN Security Council right now, and how we operate in the world more generally. We have agreed to connect our future leaders through the Future Leaders Academy in Wales and our own UN youth delegates. And I was delighted to meet some of these inspiring young Welsh leaders earlier today. In fact, we want them in Ireland. We were so impressed. The whole concept of future leaders and indeed legislating to ensure the well-being of future generations is something that I hope to replicate across the Irish Sea. Of course, there are many challenges facing both of our countries. In recent decades, our shared membership of the European Union was an important thread binding us together, framing the agenda and the context for much of our cooperation. In the new changed context, we're committed to looking at ways to sustain and renew connections, such as the strong research partnerships between our universities. We also want to bring continued focus to the close network of communities and business projects built up through EU programmes, such as Horizon, Erasmus, and the Ireland-Wales programme. We are ambitious about what we can achieve across these islands in order to deliver real and meaningful benefits for all of our people. That is, and will continue to be, the driving force of the team here in this beautiful consulate. And with that, I would like to wish our Consul General, Denise Hanrahan, who I have to say is a force of nature in terms of positivity and work rate here so far, and the rest of her team, who are doing a super job here. I just want to mention Niall and Luke again. They are really ambitious to make this consulate a place that people know, become familiar with, and very much part of the political thinking, social thinking, artistic thinking, and indeed society more generally across this city and across Wales. And I am very confident that we have a team of people who can make a deep impression and can ensure that me and colleagues from the Irish government are regular visitors here to try to develop many of the projects and conversations that we've already started. I'm also delighted to welcome our ambassador from London, Adrian, who's also here. But he did remind me that he is here to observe, but to let Denise take charge of proceedings, as I suspect she will for many months to come. So this is the Embassy of Wales, but very much linked, of course, to our team in London as well. So look, can I thank you all for your attention. Today really has been a special day for me, and I was joking with the First Minister earlier when one of his advisors said to him, well, this is much better than taking the many complaints that you normally have to take when you're meeting your constituents on a Friday morning. And I said to him jokingly, I said, if we're doing a really good job, well, then there's just a few less complaints. That's what politics is about. You constantly have to listen and respond. But I think it is a sign of how serious and how warm this relationship is when the First Minister decides to spend the entire day with you. And that's what Mark has done today, and I really appreciate it. We're spending our entire day here, but the response and the welcome and the time that we've got and the depth of the conversations that we've had today, I think are a sign of very, very positive and real things to come between Wales and Ireland, and that's the way it should be. So thank you very much for all being here.
Wel, boneddigion, boneddigesau, anol gyfeillion, diolch yn fawr am y cyfle I cael bod yma prynhawn yma. Diolch yn fawr i'r gweinidog am popeth mae ein wedi cyfrannu yn ystod y dydd ac yn enwedig wrth cwrs i Denise. Heb yr help chi, bydd popeth ni wedi trafod heddi ddim yn wedi llwyddo fel ni wedi cael y cyfle i wneud. Thank you all very much indeed for the chance to be here. Simon, I was just saying how grateful we are for the opportunity to have spent time with you and your fellow ministers today when we agreed back on the 1st of March on a new stage in that very old relationship that exists between Wales and Ireland. One of the 45 commitments we made was to the reopening of the consulate, the formal reopening of it. So here is another one of those 45 things that we are fulfilling today. We've talked about many things while we've been together. We've talked about the challenge that we have faced through the COVID emergency and the impact that that has had in Wales and in Ireland. We've talked about Brexit and the many challenges that that has put in the path of our existing relationships. But we have also talked even more about the many opportunities that there are there for both our nations through working closely together on the things that will shape both our futures. So we have particularly focused in our discussions on the opportunities for trade and for the actions we are both committed to take in facing that other great challenge of our time, climate change, biodiversity loss, and the need, the obligation on us to do everything we can to hand on the fragile but beautiful spot that we are privileged to live in onto those who come after us in the best possible state that we can. Now, as well as those hugely challenging areas, the other massively encouraging part of the day has been to see the fruits of the agreement that we struck only 8 months ago. So today, for example, we are able to announce new funding for work between the Urdd, our Welsh-speaking young people's movement, and young people in Ireland who live their lives through the Irish language. We're announcing new money today for llais eraill, other voices, so that hopefully in next year we will meet in Ceredigion to hear more music of the sort we've enjoyed this afternoon and other artistic connections between our two nations. We met for lunch in the National Museum of Wales, and there are representatives of the National Museum of Ireland there too, reaffirming a long-standing relationship between those anchor institutions in our nations and to find new ways in which we can go on working together into the future. We marked today the coming together of our higher education institutions in Scotland, in Wales, and Ireland in a Celtic academy, making sure that there are opportunities to share research, to share new thinking, to draw on the talents of all those people in helping to shape that future. And we have talked a great deal together about new opportunities for our young people to welcome young people from Ireland here to Wales and for Welsh young people to be able to visit, to experience, to learn and to shape those connections that put down the foundations of future relations between us. You and I said when we spoke in March and we reaffirmed today that we want this relationship to be about those tangible things that make a difference in the lives of our fellow citizens. And everything that we've been able to mark today, I think, demonstrates that in less than 8 months, we have made a really powerful start on that journey. And the discussions we've had will enable us to build on that further. A really important part of that new building will be the consulate here. Now, we've known Denise for nearly 2 years, and a fantastic contribution it has been already. But now with the consulate formally open, we will all have that confidence that brings to know that there is somebody here, a team of people here in Wales, whose job it is to help us to foster and to promote all the things that we have talked about and all the things that we want to make sure we build together so that the future of people here in Wales and across that sea that joins us together in Ireland is a future in which we are able to cooperate together, learn from one another, take advantage of opportunities that come our way, and to shape the future that our young people will inherit from the work that we do. So, diolch yn fawr, diolch o galon I chi. Thank you so much for being here and having spent the day with us. It's a great privilege to be here on the day that the consulate becomes officially open. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch o galon, First Minister. Thank you very much. As you're all more than aware, we have had to restrict the number of people who could be with us today for obvious reasons. So we're just going to take a few minutes before the moment that you've all been waiting for to watch a series of short messages of support for the opening of the consulate. And then after that, we'll be very happy to host you for a small reception. So if you'd like to just have an eye to the screen, and we'll hear from some of our stakeholders and partners.
Good afternoon. Aoife, Bhriain da. I am Sean O'Farrell, the Ceann Comhairle, or Speaker of Dáil Éireann, and I'm delighted to virtually join you all today for the opening of the new Irish Consulate General in Cardiff Bay. Irish connections with Wales run long and deep. With Wales, we share our Celtic heritage, an attachment to our native languages and historic links, and of course a healthy sporting rivalry. Ireland, like Wales, is an outward-facing country. We invest time and energy into making and strengthening connections in culture and business, in friends and family, and in research. Maintaining our international relationships is at the heart of what we do in the Houses of the Oireachtas. And through these relationships, we try to ensure mutual understanding, learning, warmth, and strong communications between parliaments. As parliamentarians, we have ongoing and fruitful connections through the British Irish Parliamentary Assembly, one of the important institutions created through the Good Friday Agreement. It was an honour for me in January 2019 to welcome the presiding officer of what was then the Welsh Assembly, Clúith Ellen Jones, to Dublin, as we celebrated the centenary of Dáil Éireann with parliamentary leaders from around Europe. Last year, I congratulated her as the Assembly became Senedd Cymru, or the Welsh Parliament. The new Ireland-Wales Shared Statement and Joint Action Plan, launched earlier this year, includes our commitment to deepen these parliamentary links, and I look forward to continuing this process and sharing ideas about climate action, language, economic recovery, and more in the years ahead. It is wonderful that our Consulate General is being opened today within the site of the Senedd. I wish you every success, and I look forward to in-person visits when that is possible. Good night, Liv. Good Aoife.
Mae'r urdd yn fudiad sy'n cynnig cyfleoedd I blant a phobl ifanc I gymdeithasu drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg a cynnig cyfleoedd I nhw hefyd deithio'n rhyngwladol. Ni'n falch iawn o'n partneriaeth gyda TG Lwrgen, partneriaeth sydd wedi cynnig cyfleoedd i'n pobl ifanc ni wneud cydgynhyrchiadau gyda Lwrgen yn yr iaith Gymraeg a'r iaith Wyddeleg. Ni wedi cael ymateb anhygoel i'r cydgynhyrchiadau hynny sydd wedi cael ei gwylio gan filoedd o bobl ar draws y byd. Mae'r urdd yn falch I ddatblygu'r partneriaeth efo Lwrgen ac yn edrych ymlaen flwyddyn nesaf yn blwyddyn yn canmlwyddiant I fynd â bobl ifanc draw I Iwerddon a hefyd dod â criw Lwrgen draw I Gymru. Mae cael yr is-genad yma yng Nghymru wedi golygu bod modd i fwy o bobl i glywed am ein partneriaeth ni ac hefyd sicrhau bod y cyfeillgarwch a'r datblygu rhwng y ddwy wlad yn parhau'r dyfodol.
Ian ysbesialta a ghaoine Aoife, goim gach ra an obair táchtach atá idir lámh agaibh hawl i Cardiff in Nuv. I have to say that there is a really remarkable depth and resonance to the relationship between Ireland and Wales. It's one that goes back many, many years. We share so many things. We have real empathy with each other. I began my love affair with Wales many years ago. We've made several films in Wales with our partners in that country, and we've developed deep and strong relationships with them. Back in the year 2000, we made this film, the poster behind me here, A Beautiful Mistake. There you have James Dean Bradfield from the Manic Street Preachers and the great John Cale, who left Wales to join the Velvet Underground, but is a Welsh icon out in the world. Over the last number of years, we have been extremely fortunate to develop a relationship with Theatre Malden in Cardigan in West Wales, and back in 2019 we were lucky enough to produce the first iteration of Other Voices in Cardigan. As I said, there's a natural connection between the west of Ireland and West Wales. It seems as if we understand each other. With the help of the Welsh Government and the Welsh broadcast community, and with the Irish Government, we were enabled to work together to celebrate new voices and to platform new voices from both Ireland and Wales, raising their voices to sing and to play together. Never was it more important for us to have these relationships, and I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to say that it looks like we can go ahead and do Other Voices Cardigan Part 2 next year in 2022, and for the subsequent 3 to 4 years, all going well. I wish you great good luck today. Guim gach ra an obair mar a dúirt.
Cor gorgeous, llongyfarchiadau. Congratulations on the reopening of the Consulate General of Ireland office in Wales. I'm thrilled that two of our finest musicians, Catrin Finch and Aoife Bhriain, are performing at the opening, thanks to a collaboration between Other Voices in Dingle and lleisiau eraill in Cardigan. The stunning duo is also part of Horizon's digital showcase for Womex, the World Music Expo this year. Thanks to the new agreement between our governments, we hope to strengthen opportunities for the arts to collaborate in a sustainable way, together with our sister agencies in Arts Council of Ireland and Culture Ireland. We are also excited by the opportunity to celebrate the changing and growing diversity of Celtic identities internationally. We are committed to work much closer with our Celtic sister nations to make sure that minoritised voices and communities are celebrated in all languages. This will be a feature of Gwyl Mawr yr Rhai Brychain, the first international Indigenous music festival in Bethesda in 2022, to which Irish artists and bookers are invited. And this will coincide with Wales Spotlight at Celtic Connections in Glasgow at the start of the UN Indigenous Languages Decade. Wrth edrych ymlaen I ddegawd y Cenhedlaeth Unedig, mae gan y Gymraeg a'r Wyddeleg gyfrifoldeb bydol I wrando ar rhoi help llaw I ieithoedd diflanedig y byd, lles cenedlaethau'r dyfodol. Edrychwn ymlaen I fod ar y siwrna ryngddiwylliannol Geltaidd hon gyda'r Iwerddon.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have indeed arrived at the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to take one final risk before then. They always say you shouldn't single anybody out for thanks, but I am going to do that. And one of the people I need to thank above all else is not in the room today because she's very busy escorting another ministerial colleague who's carrying out a trade visit over in the Life Sciences Hub. No bridge can be built without two sides. I represent Ireland here in Wales. The remarkable Kath Hallett is the Welsh Government representative in Dublin, and without her, I have to say, we wouldn't be here where we are today as well. So I'd really like to just have a big shout out to Kath, and thank you. The other person, a Welsh colleague who I'm going to risk thanking, and I don't think anybody will have any difficulty with that, is Mr. Des Clifford, who is hiding at the back. Not only an honorary Irishman, but also an Irishman. And throughout all the years when the consulate was not physically present, but the relationship was warm, Des has worked tirelessly, travelling to Ireland, travelling around Wales, talking to people, being that human bridge and connection. And Des, thank you so much. It is a huge honour and pleasure to be able to host you here today. So thank you very much. And then coming home at last, again, we would not be here without the extraordinary work of this very quiet, shy gentleman with his mask on in the corner, Niall Veal, who has carried the bulk of the logistics, the organisation, the Excel spreadsheets, everything it's taken to really make this happen. So Niall and our colleague Luke Webber from Bhriain, who's a key part of the Welsh voice of the Irish Consulate in Cardiff. So thank you both very, very much indeed. Agus Shinawil, I would, with that, like to invite Minister Simon Coveney to step over to unveil the plaque. First Minister, if you would like to join us, you'd be more than welcome. You might stand here. And
okay.
Can you let out? Thank you. Cheers. Minister, if you'd like to come on this side. Yeah, there. Yes, absolutely. Dangerous moment. Indeed. Take this. That's it. Oh, just hold it a second. Building the anticipation.
I just need to leave my hand there for a second.
Photo or didn't happen.
Bear with me a second, so the pins would. Okay. So after 3 then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go.
There we go.